Hello everyone and welcome to this session. Today I'm going to take you through IIM Ahmedabad's admission criteria for CAT 2025 applicants. So IIM Ahmedabad, as you know, is one of the dream destinations for any management aspirant in India, and quite rightly so. Being one of the first IIMs to have got established, they do have a rich legacy, and definitely this is a place where every single management aspirant in India desires to study. So in this video, let's understand how would be the admission process, how will they carry out the admission process for those who are taking CAT 2025 examination. So the admission process would comprise of three separate steps. In the first step, a preliminary shortlist will be created, and remember, this will be on the basis of CAT performance. So the preliminary shortlisting will happen purely on the basis of CAT. There will be a minimum required CAT percentiles, both at sectional level as well as overall percentile would also be taken into account, and a preliminary shortlist will be created. Only those whose name figure in this preliminary shortlist, they will proceed with the next step, which is basically shortlisting candidates for interview round. How is this done? I'm going to explain this to you after some time. And then AWT and personal interview will be carried out. AWT essentially is essay writing, where an argument is given to you and you need to analyze that argument. And personal interview would also take place. Once AWT and PI gets over, that's when the final selection of candidates will take place. All right, so let's start by having a look at what exactly is the preliminary shortlisting criteria in terms of CAT 2025 performance that IIM Ahmedabad has kept in place. So these are the cutoffs that they have kept in place. Remember, you got to remember that these are the minimum required CAT percentiles. Now, does it mean if you cross these percentile, definitely you will be called for interview? Not really. These are not the cutoffs. These are merely minimum eligibility criteria. It means if you violate this, if you get less than this, then you will not be called for interviews. If you cross them, then you become eligible for further shortlisting steps as such. And this year, if you compare the required CAT percentiles and you compare it with last year's required CAT percentile, there is a jump of 15 percentile points across categories. For instance, if you observe for general category, the overall percentile requirement is 95 percentile, whereas sectional percentile requirement is 85 percentile. So 85 percentile in each of the three sections of CAT would be needed. Even if you miss sectional cutoff in one section, you will not be invited for interviews. And last year, these numbers were 15 percentile points lower. So overall was kept at 80 and sectional was kept at 70 last year. So this year they have increased it by 15 percentile points. This will ensure that IIM Ahmedabad gets students who have seriously, vigorously prepared for CAT examination. So in terms of importance, CAT performance importance has gone up. So these are the minimum percentiles that you need to target. Over here I have given non-PWD cutoffs, and over there we have mentioned the differently abled cutoffs. As you know, differently abled reservation doesn't mean that separate seats would be there. Within every category, 5% seats will be kept aside for differently abled. That's the reason general category differently abled cutoff will be different. EWS and general, of course, they are going to treat it as same in terms of cutoffs. NCOBC would be separate. NCOBC and general category transgenders will be treated as the same. Then SC a separate category and ST separate category. So these are the cutoffs that you need to clear in order to become eligible for further shortlisting process. Now, if you clear this, then you become eligible for further shortlisting process. As part of further shortlisting process, you will be given an application rating score. Now, how is application rating score calculated for each of the applicants? It will be done based on 5 parameters. Number 1, your 10th class performance will be taken into account and you will be given marks out of 10. Then your 12th class performance or HSC performance will be taken into account. That also will have a weightage of 10. Then your graduation performance will be taken into account. Again, weightage will be given out of 10. Work experience will have a weightage out of 5. And finally, gender diversity will be a factor where non-male applicants will be getting 3 marks. So this is your application ratings. All right, now let's understand each of them in detail. To begin with, let's start with SSC. I'm going to call it A because there will be a formula I'm going to use at the end. So there you have to remember, here A would refer to your 10th class performance. So these are the buckets that they have kept in place. So people who get less than or equal to 55%, they will be given only score of 1. Whereas if you get more than 90%, you will be given 10 out of 10 score. So these are the buckets that they have kept in place for 10th class. If you want, you can pause this video and observe this in detail. Then similarly, for 12 standard, weightages will be assigned, buckets will be created. But interestingly, what IIM Ahmedabad has done is they have classified the students. They have categorized the students into 3 groups. As far as 12th class performance is concerned, 3 separate groups will be created. The first group out here would be those students who have essentially done their 12th standard in science stream. Then the second group of applicants are those that have done their 12th standard in commerce stream. And finally, we have arts and humanities people. As you can observe, the groups or the buckets, I should say, the buckets are different for each of these 3 categories. For instance, science. Science happens to be a highly scoring area. That's the reason you will notice that the marks that they have been given, the buckets that they have been created, they have ensured that the percentage requirement is on the higher side for science, followed by commerce, and finally much lower requirement would be there as far as humanities is concerned, because generally humanities is not a very scoring area. So they have done it in a very fair manner, keeping in mind the way the ease with which you could score marks is different in each of these 3 groups as such. Then we move on to graduation. Now, similar kind of thought process has been put in place for graduation also, and they have created 5 groups. They are calling it AC1, AC2, AC3, AC4 and AC5. AC6 is also there, which basically would comprise of people who don't fall in any of the 5 groups, AC1 to AC5. So depending on your graduation stream, they'll put you in a group as such. Now, why is it being done? It is being done with the same intention with which they have done the HSC weightages. They believe that every graduation stream may not have the same kind of challenges when it comes to securing a percentage of marks. So what they have done is they have classified people into 5 categories, 5 groupings, AC1 to AC5. And essentially, you will be competing with students from your group as far as stage 1 is concerned. So what are those groups? Let's understand. AC1, the first group, these are basically people who have done medicine and surgery related programs. So MBBS, MD, BAMS, BDS, BHMS, all these medicine related degrees will be classified in AC1. AC2 are basically professional degrees, people who have done their chartered accountancy, company secretary, ICWA, CMA, FIAI, all these will be classified in AC2. Then AC3 basically comprises of everybody who have done their commerce, economics, finance or management related degrees. So what kind of degrees are we talking about? BCom, BBA, BAF, BHM, BBS, management and commerce, economics related, all degrees have been classified as AC3. This will be a big pool of applicants. Then as far as AC4 is concerned, again this is a humongous pool, because in AC4 all engineering, technology and architecture related areas have been put in AC4. Mind you, this also includes agriculture engineering aspirants also. So all of them will be in AC4. Finally, we have AC5. AC5 essentially are those who have done Bachelor of Arts. So if the people who have gone into humanities and related degrees like design, education, fashion technology, fashion design, law, rural studies, all of them have been put in AC5, right? So just I'm showing it once again so that you can figure out you fall in which of these groups. So AC1, AC2, AC3, right? And then we have got, of course, AC4 and AC5. If you don't fall in any of these 5, then you will need to opt for AC6. So these are the 6 groupings that they have created among all the applicants. What they want to do is they want to take cream of each of these groups and invite them for interview process. How does it happen? Let's understand that. But before I do that, let's understand the weightages that they have assigned, the way they have created buckets for each of these categories. Let's understand that. So when it comes to your graduation performance, they are aware that some of these groups may have very high percentages of marks getting scored, whereas some of these graduation streams, it will be a challenge to even get 70%. So they have kept that in mind and they have given the weightages. If you observe at the bottom, you will get an idea as to what I'm trying to convey. For example, medicine and related areas, these are not very highly scoring subjects. That's the reason even if you get more than 70%, they'll give you entire 10 marks as weightage. Whereas people who have done their professional courses, chartered accountancy, etc., these are very, very difficult streams to score marks. They are very low scoring areas. That's the reason if you get more than 63% marks, you will be given the same 10 marks weightage. People who do their BCom, BBA, etc., these are comparatively much higher scoring areas. So you need to get more than 80% in order to score 10 marks. Whereas engineering happens to be highly scoring area. That's the reason you will observe more than 85% would be the requirement in engineering to get those 10 marks. Whereas finally arts and humanities again are not very high scoring area. So you need more than 75% marks to get those 10 marks. So that is how they have made it a very fair exercise in terms of buckets that they have created and the weightages that they have assigned for graduation performance. Now, work experience would be the fourth parameter that they will take into account. In order to qualify for this particular field, your work experience should have been acquired after you finish your graduation. It should be a full-time job as such, and the internships, articleship will not be considered as work experience. So as long as you fulfill those criteria, you will get weightage for work experience. For giving weightage for work experience, what they have done is people who have got less than 1 year of experience, they will be given 0 marks for their work experience. So people who have got 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, 0 marks will be given for work experience. People who have got equal to or more than 1 year till 3 years of weightage. What they have done is they have created a small formula. They have said multiplication factor multiplied with number of months of work experience that you have got minus 11, and then of course we will multiply with 5 as a, we'll multiply with multiplication factor, not 5, multiplication factor. What is that multiplication factor? Multiplication factor would be 0.2. So just to give you an idea of what will happen here, for example, let's say a student has got 35 months of experience. So if I use this formula, it will be 35 minus 11, that is nothing but 24. So 24 I will multiply with 0.2, that means 4.8 marks will be scored by that person with 35 months of experience. The moment you touch 36, the moment you cross 36, I should say, for 36 also the same process will be used, but the moment you cross 36 months of experience, you will be directly given 5 marks for your work experience. So this will be the formula that they'll use for giving you weightage for your work experience. We are going to refer to this as D. So just to summarize, A is your 10th class performance, B is your 12th class performance, C is your graduation weightage, D is your work experience, and finally E will be gender diversity marks. For all male applicants, 0 will be given. Other applicants, that means females and transgender applicants, they will be given 3 marks. So this will be gender diversity. Now once this has been done, Finally, they will calculate your application rating score by adding all these as such. So A plus B plus C plus D plus E would be used, and of course normalized application rating score of an applicant will be calculated. This will be equal to their AR score will be divided by average of top 50 AR scores from the applicants pool as such. The applicants pool essentially means people who are writing CAT exam as well as who have applied to IIM Ahmedabad. So that is how your application rating score will be calculated. Now keep this in mind and let's look at how the shortlisting will happen. Now shortlisting happens in two stages. Now I am using the term stage because IIM Ahmedabad has also used this term. You can also look at it in terms of group. So group 1 and group 2 could be another way of looking at it for your convenience. But IIM Ahmedabad uses the term stage 1 and stage 2. So in stage 1, essential idea in stage 1 is they want cream of the applicants from each of those AC groups. Remember we discussed AC1, AC2, AC3, AC4, AC5. Now from each of those 5 groups, they want to take cream of the applicants. That's the essential idea in stage 1. So that's what they are going to do. They are going to take exceptional performers across different disciplines. What do I mean by discipline here? AC1, AC2, AC3, AC4 and AC5. But then they don't stop with that. They don't stop by just taking the cream of those applicants. Then some additional people are also shortlisted. Now when this additional people shortlisting is happening, then they take into account, of course, general, NC, OBC, SC, ST and differently abled across those reservation categories. Additional number of candidates will be shortlisted and they will be selected on the basis of composite score. Now what do I mean by composite score? I'm going to share the meaning of composite score in the next slide. But for the time being, just remember that they are not just taking the exceptional performers in each of the disciplines. Apart from that, they are having some additional calls being given, and that is being given on the basis of composite score. How that composite score will be calculated, I'll share with you in a minute. But along with those composite score, the requirement would be the candidate should also fulfill conditions C1 and C2. What is C1 condition? C1 condition is basically what we discussed in the beginning of this session. You remember we discussed the minimum required CAT percentiles. That definitely needs to be fulfilled by everybody who is getting a call. So that will be holding true here also. What is C2? I'll tell after some time. In basically this, they will look into your 10th and 12th performance. There will be a minimum benchmark that they'll keep for 10th and 12th performance, and that is what is C2. I'll explain this to you in detail after some time. So there are two groups of people being called for interviews. Stage 1 or group 1 basically are exceptional performers in each of those academic disciplines that we have discussed earlier. And the group 2 basically is over and above that, wherein we are going to they are going to call people for interviews on the basis of composite score. And of course, these two conditions, C1 and C2, also needs to be fulfilled. All right. So there are two separate stages that they are following. Two separate groups are being called. Now, let's look at stage 1. Right. Now, here, as I said earlier, exceptional performers across disciplines are being invited. So what they are essentially doing is AC1 to AC5 from each of these academic categories, they are inviting at least 100 students or top 5%, whichever the number is possible, either at least 100 or top 5% in each of these AC categories, and will be called for interviews. So essentially from each of these AC groups, they are taking cream of the students. Here cream will be defined by at least 100 or top 5% of respective categories will be invited. How are they going to invite them? By taking into account the composite score. Now let's understand how is composite score generated. Now 35% weightage will be given to applicant rating score. Application rating score will have 35% weightage. I hope you remember we discussed application rating scores earlier. A plus B plus C plus D plus E. That will have 35% weightage. Remaining 65% weightage will be assigned to your CAT performance. As you can observe, CAT will have humongous weightage, 65% weightage. So preparing well for CAT, doing a good job in CAT is absolutely essential in order to get an interview call from IIM Ahmedabad. So this will be the formula they are going to use whenever composite score is getting calculated. So in this session, in future also, wherever I mention composite score, you should understand this is what I am talking about. All right. Now, interestingly, what they have mentioned is that in addition to this, you also need to fulfill some conditions. Which conditions you need to fulfill? Condition number C1 is basically CAT percentiles. You remember in the beginning of this session, I have shown you the minimum required CAT percentile. That is C1. That definitely needs to be fulfilled. Then C2 is basically going to check your 10th and 12th performance. There is a minimum required 10th and 12th performance. What is that requirement? As you can observe on your screen, they have classified the students based on your stream in 12th standard. So people who belong to science, they are in a separate group, then a separate required percentages, then commerce and arts and humanities. 3 groupings have been created. Now, they will take average percentages of your 10th and 12th exams. So it's not 12th alone, it is 10th and 12th together. They are going to take that average percentage, and then of course they will have a minimum required percentages. For example, in science stream, if you belong to general or EWS, 80% would be the minimum required percentage of marks, whereas commerce general category or EWS 77%. As far as humanities, general category or EWS, 75% would be the minimum required. Like this, for each of these reservation categories, we have got a separate benchmark being kept. If you want, you can pause this video and just have a look at it and just take into account your performance, and you can compare as such. But remember, this is not 12th alone. This is basically average percentage of marks scored in 10th and 12th examination together. Then, the third additional condition that you have to fulfill, mind you, C1, C2, C3, all 3 of them have to be compulsorily fulfilled. Only then you will get an interview call. Keep that in mind. So what is C3? Here they have set a benchmark requirement with regard to your bachelor's performance. Now what is that requirement? Here minimum cutoff percentage has been set at 80th percentile. It's not percentage, it's percentile of the percentage of marks of respective groups of applicants pools. So in each of those AC groups, you have to be among the 80th percentile from that respective group as such. Only then you will be qualifying for the interview round as far as stage 1 process is concerned. Mind you, here I am talking about stage 1 requirement. Now, so far we have only discussed the stage 1 process. So just to summarize stage 1 process, I told you those 5 groups are there and they are taking cream of applicants from each of those 5 groups. And apart from that, those 3 conditions also needs to be fulfilled. The first condition, C1, is the minimum required CAT percentiles should be crossed. Then C2, which I showed in the earlier slide, where the average of your 10th and 12th percentage of marks benchmark was kept. And then finally C3, I told you, you have to be among the 80 percentile of the students from your group as such, right? So if you clear all these 3, then you have a, then of course, if you fall in the cream of your group, top 100 or top 5%, then you will be called for interview. Now, in case any of those 5 groups, AC1, AC2, AC3, AC4 and AC5, in any of the groups, if the minimum number of people that they desire to call for interview is not met, all right, that means if number of people are less than 100, then what will they do? Then they will not be following this process. Instead of that, what they are going to do is they will take top 100 from that group or top 5% of their respective AC group, whichever number is lesser. They will take them and they will invite them directly, but remember, they are going to call them on the basis of composite score. Remember, we have discussed composite score earlier, where 35% marks were assigned to application ratings, 65% marks were assigned for CAT. So they will take that into account and they will call people for interview. But in addition to that, condition number C4 to condition number C6 should also be fulfilled. Now here, what are they doing? This will be applicable when the total number of applicants, right, who are getting, who are clearing this criteria is less than 100. Then this will be carried out. So first and foremost, this will not be blindly carried out for every group. Only for that group, this process will be carried out where the number of people who are getting shortlisted based on the criteria I've discussed so far is less than 100. Then they will be invited on the basis of composite score, but they have to compulsorily follow C4 to C6 criteria also. What is C4 to C6? Let's quickly understand that. C4 essentially is where the CAT percentile requirements have been mentioned. Overall, it should be 95 percentile or more. QA, DILR and VRC should be more than or equal to 85 percentile. Then C5 condition says that these should be the average percentage of marks. Average percentage of marks in 10th and 12th together, right? And these are the percentages: 80 for science, 77 for commerce and 75 for arts and humanities. Then finally C6. Here again the same condition that we discussed earlier. 80th percentile of percentage of marks of the respective AC group should be satisfied. Then you will be invited for the interview process. So this is how the stage 1 works. This is how the stage 1 works. But remember, we have discussed stage 2 also. What did I say? I said over and above this, they are going to invite people purely on the basis of composite scores as such. Alright, but condition number C1 and condition number C2 compulsory has to be fulfilled in stage 2 also. What is C1? Just to refresh your memory, minimum CAT percentiles. C2 essentially was average of 10th and 12th percentages that I discussed earlier. That has to be fulfilled. So that will be the second group of people who are getting invited for interview round. So this is how people are getting shortlisted as such. Now, how will the final selection be carried out? So once you are shortlisted, you will undergo AWT round, analytical written test. Right, where basically an essay is going to be written by you, which will be an argument based essay, and then personal interview will also be carried out. Once that is over, final selection will be carried out, and these are the weightages assigned. Your personal interview performance will be given 50% weightage, AWT performance will get 10% weightage, 10 plus 50, 60% will be the weightage for AWT and PI, which is humongous. That's the reason, boys and girls, prepare very well for your interview round. The moment you get a call, immediately approach T.I.M.E office and start your preparation for your interview round. And then CAT score will have 25% weightage and application ratings will have 15% weightage in the final selection stage as such. And this is how the list of candidates who are going to take admission in IIM Ahmedabad, who will be offered admission into IIM Ahmedabad, will be generated. So with this, I have come to the end of this video. If you want more details and more information, you can always check out official website of IIM Ahmedabad. I am sharing the link of the web page where you can locate more details about the process. And if you like this content, do hit the like button and do share this video with your friends and family members who may be aspiring to join IIM Ahmedabad. And do subscribe to our channel because we regularly upload this kind of useful content. Thank you everyone for watching this video.